Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are checking out a very, very fun comic, I think, at least. It is in honor of Shark Week, because John is obsessed with themes or whatever. I don't know. What do you call them, John?
Yeah, I mean, I like doing themes. I think everybody in general.
A theme for every month. This just makes it harder for us because we have to think of something to relate the comic to every month. But we read Superboy, which is like issues 0, 9, 13 through 15, which is the first appearance and first story arc of King Shark.
And we had more shark comics to choose from. Surprisingly, we did find a couple. So
yeah, and this was chosen by our patrons. So thank you, patrons, for voting. If you would like to vote on our monthly Patreon voted podcast, you can become a patron at patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. And you get to vote every month, and you also get a extra bonus episode. So if you have any interest in that, check that out. But yeah, this was the one that people voted on. It was against Carthago and a Aquaman story, right? That also featured King Shark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prominent shark.
Yeah, there's not a lot of shark characters to go from. So Carthago is some like European book, which I've actually read the first volume of, and it was very slow. So I was like, let's do volume 2 if we do it. But I want like the Meg levels of shark craziness, not like a nice, thoughtful, methodical, shark book,
Oh, I very much agree. And if you haven't gone, if you are interested in that, we have had some actually really good shark episodes for our previous Shark Weeks.
Oh yeah, Hookjaw.
Hell yeah. At least the original Hookjaw from the 70s. Man, that is some top tier, just fantastic gore and like silly story from people who didn't know too much about sharks, but they knew they killed people if they got in the water with them.
Yeah. They knew they lived in the water. Check. They knew that they kill people sometimes. Check. And they knew that they love human blood. That's what they knew. So
they craved it.
They crave it. Once they tasted it, they have a craving for it. So so definitely go check those episodes out if you haven't listened to Hookjaw 1 and 2. We did the new version, the 2017 version as well last year, I believe. But I prefer the 70s version, which is really fun. But enough of that. This time we checked out the first appearance of King Shark and the first story arc of King Shark. And it was fun, which I actually liked that it takes place in Superboy. So apparently he's a Superboy villain originally. And then he King Shark also is on the Suicide Squad in Superboy. So like that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
And another thing I liked about this book that I didn't know because I never read this or anything was it takes place in Hawaii. Now I grew up in my teenage years on the Big Island of Hawaii, which apparently this takes place in, even though it doesn't really resemble what I remember from living in Hawaii. But it actually takes place in the city I went to college in too. So in Hawaii. So that was kind of interesting to see all that. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about the usage of Hawaiian themes or speech or the way the towns look and stuff when we get into it a little bit more. But John, did you know anything about King Shark before this podcast?
I knew from Suicide Squad, from James Gunn's Suicide Squad, which was good. He was a fun little character in that, and like I think I've seen him in some media now because that movie. I know he's in the Harley Quinn show as a main character because I know Ron Funches does the voice, and I like him. I just haven't checked out that cartoon. And then I know he was in the Flash show because I remember seeing a little bit of that, but I know I didn't really watch any of the Flash show either. So all I know in general is he's a big shark man creature thing. Somehow he breathes outside of water as well, and
Well, he is like a demigod, John.
I didn't know he was a demigod until.
Oh yes. Oh, you
this,
mean
yeah.
before this? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so before this, yeah, that he could breathe out water sometime, and that I assumed just like in the movie, he would eat people. So
yes, that's very astute of you. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I knew too. I mean, I think I've read a couple comics with him in it, but I didn't realize he was even like a prominent villain. You know, sometimes you read a book and there's like a D-list villain that you just think is like a one-off that they created for that one issue you read, but you didn't realize, oh, it goes back to like the 90s or something, you know? So, but yeah, I thought this was super fun if you are looking at it from a 90s context. I definitely had a good time with Superboy because we had read previous Superboy stuff in Crisis on Infinite Earths and Infinite Crisis, but that is a different Superboy. That is one that was trapped in the whatever and negative zone or wherever the hell he is in at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then he goes evil and breaks out of that, and then that's how Infinite Crisis happens. So this is a totally different Superboy. So I've never really read anything of his other than the Death of Superman and Return of Superman story arc. So that's about 4 years, I think, of comics where there was 4 Superman, maybe not 4, maybe it's like 2.5 years of comics. It seems like 4 because there are literally one every week came out because there's 4 Superman titles at the same time. So it was like, oh, this week is Superman Man of Tomorrow, and then the next one is Man of Steel Superman, and then Superboy, and then Steel. And then of course you got Action Comics and whatever. I don't know. They were all like mixed up. I think it was only 4. Maybe there might have been 5. I don't know. There was a lot. There was a lot of Superman going on. But I definitely enjoyed this character when he was introduced in that story arc as an adult. I did not read it as a kid. I knew about it, of course, the Death of Superman, but I read the whole like omnibus of the Death of Superman and Return of Superman, and I thought it was a blast. I mean, you got to look at it like it's a 90s comic, and that means certain things, just like this one. But I had a fun time reading it, and that's all I really care about when I read comics. So I actually really like this character. I like his design. For those of you who don't know, he's like a younger Superboy is obviously a boy version of Superman, and he has like a full body spandex suit. His legs are red. He's got blue boots. He's got a blue shirt or a blue top to his spandex with the Superman insignia on it. He's got 2 belts. Don't know why. There's no pants. So
because it's the 90s and
yeah.
You got to have belts and
yes. He's got a belt around his thigh as well, but nothing's in it, and there's no like reason for it there. So that's of course good. And then he's got red gloves, and the best thing about him, I think, is his black leather jacket that he wears to make him look cool, which we get the origin of in this comic as well. And then he's got like, I think it's a haircut that's actually coming back, but like the boy with the shaved sides.
Yeah, the undercut.
The undercut, is that what it's called? Yeah, okay. So the undercut haircut, and then
this comic made me think maybe I should get that.
Do it, John. I would love to see you with an undercut,
especially with like keep my hair longer, but like it is.
Fuck I have long hair. Well, then you'd look like the singer of Pantera or some shit, because you got long hair. So yeah, that would be. Do it. I'm down. Do it for patrons.
I can't see the page you're on. We're doing this remotely.
Oh yeah.
Again, so I need to see the page you're on. I know what Superboy looks like.
Yes, but. I'm just on the cover of Zero. So, yeah, we usually go through the comic while we're talking about it just to remember what happened in the stories. But I will say that 2 of these issues didn't really need to be necessarily. I mean, they were set up for who King Shark is, but they're not like really story heavy. Actually, they involve a lot of other plot lines that are from other issues. So the first one is Superboy Zero, which you might be confused by because it did not come out before issue 1. It actually came out before issue 9. And I believe this was part of the 0 hour. I could be wrong about this, so don't quote me on this, but I believe it's part of the 0 hour event. And every comic came out with a 0 issue for that. I think I might be wrong. But I know that there's like a Detective Comic 0 and a Batman 0 because I had to find those. And then I was like, where the fuck do these go? Because obviously 0 is before 1, but it's not before Detective Comics #1, obviously. So I'm like, where do I put this in the run? I don't know. So it really just confuses the numbering on everything, which is great. Thank you, DC, for that. But yeah, so this is just a random issue that introduces King Shark. I guess they just wanted to introduce a new villain. They also set up like him going to Hawaii, right? So he's in Honolulu Airport, which is on Oahu, which is a separate island from the island I grew up on. And we start off, there's already a fight happening. I like this. This is one thing I miss about 90s books or just, older comic books. They start off with action. They start off with like, okay, fuck the talking and the setup. Let's start off in the action and then we'll catch everybody up later. So we see this guy who's named Sidearm, which is a terrible villain, is one of the worst villains I've ever seen in my life. But basically, apparently he was kind of like Doc Ock, except he only had 2 mechanical arms and they like on a belt on his waist at one time. And then those got ruined the first time Superboy fought him. So now he's got a robotic arm on top of one of his arms.
Yeah, it's so stupid looking.
So he's got 2 shoulders on his left side, basically. One's metal, one is not. And yeah, it's really weird and stupid looking. But we start off on the first page with it already looking like Superboy has lost this fight. The Honolulu airport looks like it's been, they've been fighting in it. Things are falling over. Pillars are broken and stuff. But Superboy was just joking. He turns around and he is very much a Peter Parker, Spider-Man kind of superhero where he is quipping for good or ill the entire time. They do not land a lot of the times, I will say. A lot of his quips, and I don't know if that's intentional, because sometimes they do land, and I'm like, oh, that was fun. But sometimes it's like, what are you talking about? I don't know. But he keeps calling sidearm sidecar, sideways, so anything that is not his actual name. But yeah, he turns around, he's got a smirk on his face. He calls him sidecar. And then, he gets some witty banter back and forth as he fights this guy in the airport. The weirdest thing about this scene is, so this made me laugh out loud too. So Sidearm gets thrown, his arm gets ripped off by Superboy, the mechanical one. So he's minus his sidearm, literally. And, just so happens a scientist buddy of Superboy is walking out of an airplane. What are those called? Concourse or whatever, the hangar. What's it called? The tube you walk through to the
courseway?
The courseway. There you go. Yeah. So he's walking out of that. And it just so happens this scientist also has an electronic arm. Just randomly. And Sidecar, apparently, he's got a vest that can incorporate anything mechanical or electrical into his armor / arms. So he adds an arm, and he's like, I'm going to take all of this power as my own. Keep in mind, this is a scientist's arm. There's no indication of what this does. Why would it have power? Don't know. But Sidearm is like, I'm going to add this to my power. I'm going to kill you, Superboy. Then he tries to shoot Superboy with it, and it is literally a suntan lotion mechanical arm. Like, its purpose, there's no hand on it. It's just to squirt out suntan lotion. Which I was like, What the fuck is this? As was Sidearm. Sidearm was very confused by this as well, but yeah, John, what'd you think about this first fight scene here?
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. Like him, I like that he just like take it, like you said, and like stick it in him. He's like, okay, I've got a new, arm that I can just like plug into me. Yeah, but then it's just like for suntan lotion. It's stupid.
Yeah. I love how like it's a super advanced cybernetic, sun tanning lotion dispenser arm, but the doctor or the professor doesn't seem very like upset by it. He's like, "Oh, it's fine. I got that was like an old model. I'm gonna make one with refrigeration soon, like air conditioning." I'm like, "What? What does that mean? What does an arm with air conditioning mean? You're just walking around in the heat outside, cooling the outside, and using a lot of power to do it. I guess I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but it seemed like Carl Kiesel, who's the writer of this, or Kessel. I don't know how you say his name, but he's the creator of King Shark, and then he's the one who like came up with all this crazy shit, which is very interesting. Like I don't know where you come up with this, but I was talking to John earlier about this. This is definitely a jobber comic, like of the '90s, where it's like it's fun if you just turn your brain off. Remember, this is the '90s. You don't take it too seriously. There's some fun elements. You get to see the origin of a bad guy that's in a movie, and it's just fun times all around if you do that. Otherwise, it is not the best comic ever if you're really looking at it with eagle eyes or whatever. But he does. I don't know. I think it's fun, especially when the Suicide Squad gets in it. But the other fun thing about this is the introduction of like the Hawaiian characters and the people that live in Hawaii. And like I said, the island itself, because we meet a woman. I'll say it's a woman because she is obviously supposed to be way older than Superboy, who is 16 apparently in this book. And, she is an adult who works for a news organization called Kona News or Kona TV, which doesn't make any sense because Kona is on the Big Island, but whatever. So apparently the Big Island has its own news broadcast station in Oahu, and she works for them. And her name is Tana, and she and Superboy have something. They don't know what it is yet. They haven't talked about it, but they do make a point of it that when she's at work, like after she actually like commandeers someone's camera, like VHS camera, and films the fight scene because she just happened to be at the airport as well. And I guess she was meeting the professor, maybe. I don't know why she was there, but she films this segment, by herself, so it's very like guerrilla style. And then when she goes back to Kona TV to bring it into the producers, they're like, "Oh, this is great. We'll run this tonight." And all of her coworkers are like, "Man, she's got no business covering those stories. It's a conflict of interest. It's unethical. Like she tries to keep it a secret, but everybody knows he's not even 16. So maybe he's even 15 in this comic." So she's dating a 15-year-old potentially. They never fully solidify that. They never kiss or anything, but there is some interesting things that happen. They flirt a lot. And she is obviously supposed to be an adult working at, a place. So she's got the hots for a 15-year-old potentially. Or at least the flutters, we'll say.
Yeah, they definitely make it seem like that.
Yeah. So that's all done, with like her at her, news place. Obviously Sidearm is beat. We get some weird side plot that doesn't matter about some other people. Basically, like some other people they know on the island that are like from the mainland where they like they're all here and they're all like running from a mobster or something. That never comes into play because that's just tied into other stuff. But the main thing about Zero Issue, other than introducing King Shark later, is we get something that Superboy is not as powerful as Superman in this. He is a clone of Lex Luthor and Superman. So he doesn't have, or at least that was the original origin. They kind of hint that maybe there's some other cloning things happening, like other DNA or whatever. But at least for all intents and purposes, he's not as powerful because he's only half Kryptonian, or he's only got half of Superman's DNA. So he doesn't have all the same powers. He's obviously super strong and he can fly and he's invulnerable, but he doesn't have heat vision. Or at least he hasn't figured out how to use it yet. And he doesn't have he never uses his ice breath or just breath in general. What are some other powers that he has? I don't know. It doesn't seem like he has nearly the strength of Superman either, because obviously he's fighting a guy named Sidecar, and they thought on the first page you thought he was losing. So
Yeah, I mean, he definitely, like, he said he was holding back, but still, like,
yeah, but that just means he damaged the whole airport for funsies, I guess.
for fun. Yeah, I guess he had no reason to. Like, Sidearm got shots in on him, and whether he let him do it or not, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, so it's weird, but whatever, we'll go with it. Like I said, 90s comics, you just go with it, you have fun reading it. And okay, so this was the thing. So we go from Oahu with Tana and his girlfriend, or Tana his girlfriend, or lady friend that wants to be his girlfriend, and then the professor, the scientist guy from the airport, was like, I'm going to Star Labs to, that's where I'm headed, which they make it seem like he's on Oahu because they were all in Honolulu. But then we turn the page and it's like on the Big Island. So then we cut to Star Labs on the Big Island, which is in Hilo apparently, which is where I went to college. And then we just see Superboy and Tana show up. So I guess he flew from, sure, Superboy flew 100 miles really quickly, which is fine. That's possible. But how did the professor get there? That's what I want to know. He just landed and got off the airplane. And he got his arm ripped off.
What are you talking about? They don't know the all of the where
one big island,
the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah. I don't know. They're 5 feet away from each other. That's how it works. But yeah, I was like, I don't know where we're at because it keeps going back to like Honolulu skyscrapers and shit. But then they're on the Big Island, so I'm like, I'm confused. There's no skyscrapers in Hilo for sure. So, yeah. But anyway, the reason why he goes to Star Labs and meets this professor is because the professor needs to give him some fancy goggles that are come in handy very much in the next story arc, which is they give him the heat vision. They also give him X-ray vision. Oh yeah, that's definitely a Superman power, right? X-ray vision. So like, yeah, they give him like the powers that he didn't get. And then we also get like a breakdown of how Superboy was created in this scene, because he's like the professor's like, so exactly how did you become Superboy? And then we get like a whole breakdown of Doomsday and killing Superman and all that shit, and Lex Luthor cloning him and stuff. And then
let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly. And it was very like 3 pages that didn't. Oh yeah, we also get not only that origin, but we get the origin of Sidecar in him, which is like, it's the first night that he's out from the laboratory that he was created in, and he like sees Sidearm robbing an ATM, and so he fights him in that. I will say I loved this part because they kept bringing up like 90s shit. They kept saying like, oh, this is real X-Files stuff. And like, like they really, really were like quoting things from like the 90s. And also the way they talk. A lot of stuff is fresh. That's what Superboy says a lot about things that are cool. He's like, oh man, that's a fresh car. Hell yeah. So I thought that was funny. A lot of stuff like that in this. Which just, it's nostalgic for me. I can see if you didn't grow up in the 90s, you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? But, yeah, you just got to go with it, like I said. So we do see him, and this is why we have the rivalry of Sidearm and him. And this is when Sidearm had like the 2 Doc Ock tentacles as part of his costume instead of just the one weird double arm that he has in the original fight scene we saw him in.
He's got arms on his side. How about that?
Hence sidearm. Yes.
Literally.
So yeah, I mean, Superboy has a hard time with him, but then I don't remember how. I guess he just like, oh, that's right. Okay, so we get the only power that's different from Superman's. It's called tactile telekinesis. Now, John, I had no idea what the fuck this was talking about.
No, I went and looked it up because I was like, I was like, tactile, okay, touching, telekinesis with your brain, okay, so maybe he can touch something and then get its power, but I still I was like, that I don't understand.
Yeah, the only thing I could get, this is what I got by the end of this run, or this little mini series, was if he touches something, he can control it with his brain. He has to be in physical contact with it. So even this didn't quite make sense because his jacket and everything are outside of him along with his spandex suit. So the arms aren't touching his skin. But I guess all he needs is to be in somewhat close contact with him. And then he can control the arms, make them fritz out, whatever. And that's basically what he does. He just overloads them and they kind of spark out. And then he like ties the arms to a light pole and leaves a note that says Superman or Superboy, I guess, on it for the cops to find. So that is the origin of Sidecar and Superboy. Like I said, the only reason he comes here, why we need this part of the story, is the goggles. Now, let's talk about this X-ray vision, all right? So he's in a room with the professor, the scientist guy, who gave him the goggles, and his girlfriend, or the girl that likes him and he likes her kind of, Tana. And he turns these on, they're X-ray goggles. He's like, cool, X-ray vision. And he's like, oh, all I'm seeing are bones. And then the doctor's like, oh, you're focusing too deep. You have to train yourself to look, on the surface of objects. So then he's like, oh, I see. And he's looking directly at his girlfriend. And she's like, oh, my God. And she covers up because he can see her. She tries to cover up, but he's already seen everything.
He's already seen everything.
Basically, that's what it is. Like, and then that's an ongoing gag. Superboy is a creep. Like, everywhere he goes, he is looking at naked people. It's something he likes. And then, so like, that's the big, like, okay, that's a funny thing. He gets his goggles. That's the setup. And then the last page of the Zero issue is the setup for King Shark. We see on Kulani Prison, there is, which says it's on the east side of Hawaii, which I'm assuming is the Big Island, because that's the official name of the Big Island is Hawaii. Which I don't remember there being a prison there, but I could be wrong. There's a prison in there. There's like a cave. I guess there's like a part that's underwater where they keep King Shark, whose name is Nanaue. John read this wrong when he read it, I will say, because and I agree with you, John. The lettering is a little confusing. If you don't recognize Hawaiian lettering very, if you're not familiar with the way they write their words with vowels and stuff, and there's a lot of vowels, or not vowels. What are they called? Yeah, vowels, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm like English brain fart. Yes, there are a lot of vowels in there. So lots of vowels next to each other that don't normally go next to each other in like English words. So he thought it was Nanalie, and like the U is an L and an I. So yeah, I was like, no, dude, that's completely wrong. But I do see where you see that, because I also had a hard time reading some of the words that were in this. So whoever lettered this, I think it was a digital lettering, because it says it's by like some like program. It's like by Comic Craft or something. So I think this is like early digital lettering, which is why it's not very clear sometimes. But we see that some bad organization, some evil organization blows up a side of this prison where the water is, I guess where they're keeping Nanue, and their name is the Silicon Dragons, which is the lamest name for a crime syndicate I've ever heard in my life.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. But what I do like is they break King Shark out and they're like, finally, come on out. We're your new employers. Like, we freed you, Nanue, or Naanue, or Nananue. Sorry. It's, like I said, I'm trying to read it, and it's like the L, I want to say L-I as well. So, but yeah, so King Shark's Hawaiian name is Nanaue. So, they call him that all the time in this. We're just going to call him King Shark, just make it easier. But, so King Shark sees the two people that are like, we freed you. We're your new employers. And King Shark's like, fuck that. And he just bites them and murders them immediately. And he's like, now I'm free. And we don't get a full, this is technically a cameo of King Shark, because we don't see his body. We just see like a silhouette, an eyeball, his teeth smiling with blood. So yeah, it's like a teaser for the next issue, which is issue 9 of Superboy. And on the cover, we see a full King Shark in all his wrestler leotard glory, because that's what he wears. He wears like a leotard, a black leotard, basically. That's like a wrestler, like a strong man from the 1900s, early 1900s. and he's got a giant fin on his back, which looks different than he's much more muscular than the one that's in the Suicide Squad movie, and he's got a giant fin like from his head to the middle of his back, and he's also got like claws and shit and like webbed fingers. So a little bit, I think the one from the Suicide Squad movie looks more like a shark, less monster, and this one's more monster, less shark kind of thing. But this one starts off with the origin of King Shark as well. So we see that in the legends of Hawaii, there is a place called Waipio Valley, which is a real place. It is the place that the end of Waterworld is filmed. So it's like a really black beach. It's a very beautiful valley that is very well. I don't know if it's hard to get to now. I think they've like paved a road down to it, but you used to have to have 4-wheel drive to get down to it when I lived there. So it was very like secluded. Not a lot of people went there very often. It'd be a nice place to visit for sure. But this is where King Shark hangs out, and this is like, I guess this is like Nanaue Senior. This is like the dad of Nanaue or something. Either that, or maybe I'm wrong. His dad is up in wherever he's the king of, or he's the actual shark god, and then he has relations with a woman, and that's how Nanaue is born, and then Nanaue stalks Waipio Valley or something. So, but we see people go to the beach. Nanaue comes out from the reeds because he's, I guess, like he said, walk on land, and he's like, hey, don't go out there. There's a shark. And the people are like, screw you. You don't know what you're talking about. We're going to go have fun. And then it turns out that the man who warned them was King Shark, and then King Shark kills them. And then, yeah. So that's pretty much it. We see his mom also like floating with the sharks, and like the sharks are all around her, like they're worshiping her kind of thing. So it's kind of an interesting legend. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of was this very clear to you, John? Did you understand exactly what was going on in this?
No, I at first because I wasn't sure, especially with the name. I was like, wait a minute. So is that like the son? Like King Shark is the son of somebody?
Of Nanaue,
and I guess yeah, and I guess that he technically is the son, because now we also see that we find out that he's the son of a shark god and
some woman. We don't know her name.
Yeah, a local.
A local woman.
Yeah, it's like Zeus, just going, I pick you. You're you and I. We're gonna have a good time tonight.
Yes.
And it's horrible. And so then King Shark is born, and I didn't realize that he was like a demigod. He's like Hercules, kind of, basically.
Yeah, his dad's a god and his mom's a human, and just like Hercules, in fact. But Hercules looks human, and I guess because his dad was a shark, King Shark looks like a shark. Yeah, but we go from that nice Hawaiian myth, that they're talking about the origin of King Shark, and we cut to, as we turn the page, Superboy flying over a beach in Hilo on the Big Island that doesn't look anything like Hilo, but it's there, whatever. And this is interesting. He's flying. He's saying, yes, I'm so glad I came to Hilo for the weekend, because he is flying over a volleyball tournament with all women. And for some reason, okay, we can see he's got his goggles on, so he's looking at them nude. But for some reason, the artist also drew them nude for us, the audience, which I appreciate from a 90s comic. What about you, John? Did you appreciate this page?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, I don't know why everybody's nude at the beach, basically.
Yeah, I thought it was a nude beach at first. I'm like, there's not many of those there. But then I realized, no, they're doing it because he's saying yes, like, because he's flying over a bunch of girls playing volleyball, and so he can see them naked. And he's like, I am so glad I came to Hilo. And then, but for us, so we understand what he's talking about. There's like a layer. The artist was like, you know what? I'm not going to draw close. I'm just going to make it like, oh yeah, you guys can see that they are naked as well.
All we're saying is Superboy's canceled.
Yes. Basically, Superboy is a creep. He's a peeping Tom. And he's creeping on ladies.
Which I get, because as far as him being a teenager, but then it also is weird too, because we said like she's older. She's like 20-ish, and he's like maybe 16.
They say younger than 15. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Or younger than 16. So.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, turning 16. We'll say that.
To be fair, he's got a very muscular body.
and he is the clone of a full-grown man.
I will say also, he's not actually 15 anyway, right? Because he's a clone. So like he's probably 3 right now or 2 in like actual years.
That's true.
But because when they explain his origin, they're like, he remembered being like his first memories was of him. They say he was a boy, like literally like a child, like a baby in a vat. And then he like blinked and then he was like a boy, or like a, a young man, like a teenager. So like in a span of a week, he was a teenager. So I assume he's not actually this age. He's only like 1 or 2 or something, which makes it even weirder. But yeah. So then we cut to him flying back to his girl, Tana. She's on the beach too, meeting him there. And he's still got his X-ray goggles on. He's still looking at her naked. She's in a, like a one-piece. It's got a thong, but it's like a one-piece bathing suit or something. But this is extra weird because, okay, it's her family is there too. So like they're all coming to meet him, hang out with him. And like her brother's like, oh, you like him, don't you? And she's like, oh, we don't quite know what we haven't really had to talk. We haven't sat down and talked about it. But I think, there's something there, And like her nephew and niece are there. Also, one thing I noticed is anytime Superboy is, I don't know if he's trying to be disrespectful or if he's like, if it's just a word that Carl Kiesel wanted to throw in. But do you know what a moke is, John?
I feel like I've heard it, and I feel like you've mentioned probably what it is.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah, moke's like just, a very local person, but like kind of, I would say like a meathead local person, maybe, someone who's down to fight at any moment, None of these people in this drawing look like a moke, but as Superboy flies over them with,
you would say someone who wants beef.
Yes, someone who like beef. All right,
who like beef.
Yeah. So meaning they want to fight all the time. So, yeah, like I also thought like, okay, so luckily Superboy took his glasses off over as he flew over this group of people because there are a bunch of old dudes and fat dudes and apparently mokes that are here and yeah, he didn't see them naked, but we do see him come back after he drops off the niece and nephew in the water. We also get some like Jaws shots. You can see like people swimming from below, and there's like dun like that's what I hear in my head as we get closer to the people on boogie boards and stuff in the water. And but like so he drops off the niece and nephew in the water. He comes back. He puts his goggles back on as Tana bends over to get something, just so he can look at her naked behind her back. And then she turns around and he pulls them off really quick, like so that she doesn't notice that he's looking at her naked.
With his super speed.
Yeah, once again, he's using his powers for ill. This is not how it's supposed to be, Superboy. You're above this. But yeah, he's creeping on her. He's creeping on this 20-year-old girl who's also creeping on him because she's 20 and he's 15. It's a weird dynamic, I'll say that for sure. But anyway, so like I said, King Shark is stalking the waters below. He starts attacking people. So, of course, everybody runs out to save the kids, like from her family. But Superboy, is there first. He saves the kids. And he gets, did he get bit or he gets scratched, right? Like something grabs him from the deep. And he's like, what the hell was that? A shark bit me. But then they're like, no, the scratches on this kid's leg, on the niece's leg is scratches like from a hand, not a bite. And so we also get introduced to a character that I guess had been introduced before, but he's like the local, he's the 5-0, we'll call him because it's Hawaii, right? So he's 5-0, meaning police. And his name, what's his name again?
What is
Mokane?
Mohane or
I think it's Mokane. Or no, it's Makoa. I'm sorry.
Makoa.
So
yes,
he's Detective Makoa, or Special Agent Sam Makoa. That's his name. And I guess he's from a future or a past storyline where Superboy and him did not get along, so they have beef. They have aggression towards. I'm going to say beef because it's Hawaii. They have beef with each other. But he explains, Makoa explains that King Shark escaped from prison. He's the one who put King Shark in prison. So he needs Superboy to help him out, even though he hates it because King Shark is a real adversary. So they're trying to find King Shark. They go to King Shark's home. I guess they know where he lives. They find his mom there, and this is super fucked up, I thought. His mom was like, he ain't here, but also he was hungry, so I fed him. And then we see that she cut off her arm or gave him her arm to eat, which just like lets you know how hardcore King Shark is. And then Superboy, while like scouting the grounds with his X-ray vision, notices a cave that goes to like it's an underwater cave. So he goes in there and he finds King Shark inside. They have the big first battle, and King Shark chomps down on his leg. It doesn't show him like bleeding or anything, but it definitely seems like Superboy is freaked out by this. He's like, "What? I'm invulnerable. I'm invulnerable." He just keeps saying that over and over. And I wasn't sure if like, obviously in this Superboy has to hold his breath underwater, but like King Shark tries to drown him a couple times. But I was like, does Superman have to hold his breath? Because I mean, he goes in space and shit, right? So like,
Yeah, I just assumed that King Shark is their first big, fight.
well, that's I guess where we understand that like, yeah, he's not as powerful as Superman. He's got to hold his breath, something like that. So, but what he does have, which is nice, he's got his goggles on, like we said. So he uses his heat vision, shoots King Shark in the face, which lets him go, and then they knock him out, and they are able to put him in prison again. So that's how they capture King Shark for the second time, I guess. Yeah. So what do you think of the origin of King Shark in this issue? Like as a first appearance with the fight and everything.
I thought it was fine. I like that he, he tries to. He's new to Superboy. He doesn't know him, and so he tries to drown him, and he bites him, and obviously, I guess it doesn't like hurt him per se, but it
freaks him out.
maybe it hurts him, but doesn't like make him bleed or whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, it obviously gets to Superboy. So yeah, I mean it's cool. I mean he definitely like seemed like he gave Superboy a little bit of a fight, definitely more than Sidearm.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Now we jump from issue 9 to issue 13 for the next part of this King Shark story arc. I don't know what was in between. They don't really say anything about that, but this storyline is called Watery Grave. There's 3 issues of this, so it's 13 through 15. And we see on the front cover of issue 13 the Suicide Squad. So we got Deadshot.
Deadshot.
Yeah, then we have King Shark, Boomerang, or Captain Boomerang.
And the old Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, the old one, the original one, the Australian Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, with his little like Navy, I don't know what
he's got like a Navy outfit on, I think.
Yeah.
Then we got Sidearm, who's in this Suicide Squad, I guess. And then what was her name? There's like a woman.
Knockout.
Knockout, and she's called Knockout not only because she's super strong, but she is a knockout bodacious babe, as they would say in the 90s.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
clever.
Yeah, very much so. And she is very cheeky. I'll say that. I was actually surprised by some of the stuff that she said, because this is an approved by the Comics Code comic. So she is very sexual and innuendo in her, like whenever she talks to Superboy, which is also inappropriate because he's 15. So I thought that was fairly risque for like a 90s comic that's approved by the Comics Code. But like we read some Marvel comics like the Spider-Man from the 90s, where like we saw not a sex scene, but a morning after scene between Spider-Man or Peter Parker and Mary Jane, who are married in that comic. But we definitely saw her in like sexy clothes. She's bending over a lot, stuff like that. So that was allowed. But I was surprised that the language, like first off, she's a stripper. That's like they established her as a stripper, which I was like, oh wow, seems risque for a 90s comic. And then like that's not Vertigo or something, like this is in grocery stores still on the racks or whatever, And she wears very skimpy clothes, like cut off shorts and shit like that, and like a tube top. And then like I said, she says very, very sexual innuendo phrases and stuff to people. So, but she gets recruited immediately by Suicide Squad because they need her for a mission, of course. She's already out. She's out on parole. She's on her life living, the thing. But they get Deadshot to pick her up and like say, hey, we need you to be in the Suicide Squad for a mission. But he does this in a different way than a normal person would do. He just starts shooting at her from afar. And they have like a little fight scene where they wrestle for a bit. And then he's like, hey, I'm here to recruit you, not kill you, which is why I missed. Duh. We also see, we cut away from that scene after she's like, okay, I'll be on your team, to Superboy in school. He's trying to join high school in Hawaii, which at the time I was in middle school in Hawaii. So, I feel you, Superboy.
You could have been there at the same time as you.
Yeah, this might be the school I went to. I don't know, because I don't know what island it is, because they keep jumping back between the Big Island and Oahu, like they're interchangeable. But, I'm going to say this is Kealakea High School. I'm going to say that on the record. So it's either that or maybe Kona Waina. I don't know if Kealakea was built then. There's only two schools on that side of the island. So, or on the side of the island I grew up in. So, yeah. So he's trying to take like his entrance exam so they like a placement exam so they know like where he should be. And like he immediately has to go away and he's like, I can't, I heard like a robbery happening down the street. And the guy's like, well, you can't, if you leave the test, I have to grade it as it is. So, either you want to go to high school or you want to save people's lives and be a hero. And Superboy, of course, is like, I want to be a hero. So he interrupts Captain Boomerang, who's robbing a bank. Now, this is, like we said, the Australian's Captain Boomerang. So he's got the craziest accent I've ever read in like a 90s comic, I think. Where he like they say things like might, like MYTE to say mate, like just so you say like, hey, listen up, mate. Like you have to say it like that in your head. I was like, wow, this is like if you didn't understand any of this shit, like if you were just not familiar with Australian speaking, you'd be like, I don't know what that word means. Yeah. Yeah, but basically, he stops the bank robbery of. Actually, no. There were other people robbing a bank from the, what are they named? Not Silicon Dragons. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, Silicon Dragons.
So the Silicon Dragons are robbing a bank, and it just so happens Captain Boomerang, either he was going to rob the bank too, and he showed up late. And so, like, it looked like he was robbing it, and that's why Superboy came. But it turned out he was actually helping stop the robbery at that time because he was trying to rob them or something. So it was like he somehow got off making it look like he was out of there or whatever, like he was not a bad guy,
but he had a floppy disk.
Yeah,
of course, a floppy disk.
Yeah, but it was one of those 3-inch ones, so it wasn't even floppy. It was a newer one.
Well, no, those were called floppies too.
I know they're called them, but I mean they're not floppy. That's all I'm saying. They're not the 5-inch ones or whatever.
With all of their 1.44 megabytes of data.
Yes, exactly.
I love that in the 90s. Not this specific,
or 512 kilobytes. Some of them were that as well.
I love that there are so many villains that we're going to take down the world with all the data on this floppy disk.
Yes. Don't even get me started on zip drives. Anyway, we see that, this is a couple issues after issue 9 where Tana was, debating whether she should go out with Superboy or not. So we see that Tana and Superboy are going out. They're making out. They actually do kiss. I was wrong. They do kiss in this one. And it seems like they're having a gay old time, just making out on the beach, hanging out in Hawaii. And she's like, she's like a journalist. So she's like, how come how was your school day? Which is weird to say to someone and that someone that you're dating. And he's like, oh, school. Right. Well, like there was a bank robbery and I had to leave. And she's like, but you made it into school, right? And he's like, totally. We'll talk about that later. And so he's like, I got to go do some shit. So he goes to meet with, the detective, what's his name again? Makoa?
Makoa, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say it's that. Yeah, Makoa. Detective Sam Makoa. And so I guess the detective was like, I got to, meet me here at this place because we got to talk about something. So Superboy's like, okay, I'm intrigued. So he goes to meet with the detective, and then they go to this ship in the middle of the ocean. And when they get on the ship, we see the Suicide Squad is there. But this is not the Suicide Squad we're used to seeing. Once again, it is Deadshot, who we're used to seeing in the Suicide Squad. But it's got Captain Boomerang, Sidearm, and what's her name again? Knockout.
But I do like we get to see Amanda Waller.
Yeah, so Amanda Waller, of course, shows up because everybody's like, oh, it's Superboy. And they start to like go at him. This is where we see Knockout starting to get fresh with Superboy. She picks him up like she's going to crush him, but she like squeezes him into her. And then like she's saying like, I got a crush on you. Come on. You're playing hard to get, that kind of shit. And so like, yeah, there's definitely some interesting play back and forth with words between her and him that probably not allowed nowadays because he is 15 in high school, or at least trying to get into high school. But yeah, we see Amanda Waller show up and she's like, okay, quit it out, you guys. We're here for one thing and one thing only. We need to destroy a base down in the middle of like the Pacific Ocean on the bottom. And, we need you guys. It's a Silicon Dragon base. We need you to take them out. And in order to do that, we got a guy that'll help us out. It is King Shark. So that she got him out of prison, obviously, and brought him here to be a part of the team. Now, she does put a belt on him that will explode if he tries to remove it or if he does something against Makoa's orders, Detective Makoa, who's like in charge of King Shark. And so, of course, this creates tension because Makoa and King Shark have a past, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so this is such a weird, I did not understand what happened initially, but basically what they do in order, because the base is right below the ship. So the ship is on the top of the ocean, then thousands of feet down, there's a base. And that base is reading everything on top of them with radar or sonar or whatever. And so it knows there's a ship above them. So in order to make it look like a ship just exploded and there's nothing to see here, you don't need to bother with it. Like Amanda Waller leaves the ship and she blows the place up with a helicopter, and then it sinks. And then part of that wreckage that sinks is the little submarine that the Suicide Squad is going down with. And that's just to confuse the Silicon Dragons to think, oh, that's just debris. It's not a super secret Suicide Squad team. We also see inside the base, as they notice the explosion, that they are controlled or ran by a female leader. What's her name?
She is,
I want to say it's like Green Dragon, but it's not that. She's in green. She's like
Lady. It's close. It's Lady Dragon.
Lady Dragon. There you go. She wears green. Her name's Lady Dragon. Very original name. And she kind of looks like Elektra, but with like a shawl on that's green, pretty much. But okay, so John, at the end of this arc, I'll spoil it because who cares? She's not a very big part of this, other than she's in the background every now and then, being like, "Why aren't you doing what I said, peons?" And they're like, "Oh, we're sorry." But so they set her up. She's obviously a local woman. She's got tan skin. She's got black hair. I thought they were setting this up to be Tana. I was like, obviously, now that Superboy and her are together, they're going to be like, but she's actually the leader of the Silicon Dragons. And they don't do that.
Silicon Dragons.
Yeah. What did I say?
He said silicone.
It's the same fucking thing. It's the same.
That's a different type of dragon.
The cocking dragons. All right. So, the Silicon Dragons, whatever. So, yeah, like I thought they were setting it up. Did you get that at all from this? Like immediately, the first panel we see of her, I'm like, oh, that's probably Tana. They're like setting up this whole thing.
Nope.
No? Okay. You never once were like, I wonder who she is, and are they setting it up?
No, I didn't think she seemed like, I don't know. She seemed like the Lois Lane, so I didn't suspect her ever.
That's why they could have set it up, you know? Well, also because they never show her face. So I thought, oh, they're like putting green lipstick on her to throw you off. They got her in a green shawl, but like, obviously this is her. It's got to be, right?
you are expecting that from what would have been a good twist, especially for a 90s comic.
Not even a good
And
twist. It's just a twist that should have happened, I'm assuming. But yeah, it does not happen.
I was too involved with the like you said, some of the things that they were saying, especially knockout to Superboy. It was like right after the fight, there was one line you'd say I wanted to say, and she says that because she talks about that tactile telekinesis. She's like, oh, it makes you strong, pup, not as strong as me. But I bet there's things that you could do with that power you never dreamed of. And I was like, he's 15.
Yeah, like give her orgasms. That's what she's insinuating there. That's why I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is way more sexual in nature than I thought for a 90s comic. At least what she's saying to him. I mean, it is like possibly above kids' heads because it's so like, it's hidden language. It's a wink to adult readers, I guess. But I was like, that's pretty cheeky. But anyway, so like we said, the submarine's coming down with all this debris, and unfortunately for the Suicide Squad, the Silicon Dragons are like, oh, we should collect that debris. They don't even know that I don't think they know it's a submarine, right? They're just like, we're just going to collect some of this debris. Like it's the spoils of a ship.
No, they do because this second underling villain sets off this like I don't know what it is.
Electrical cannon or something?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they just did that because it was like they were like, oh, we're going to disable this part and like bring it in, but maybe they didn't know it was actually a submarine with the Suicide Squad on it. Maybe I'm wrong. Once again, didn't make it totally clear. It's a 90s comic. They're not the clearest comics in the world. So, but as they bring in the submarine, they tear it open. The Suicide Squad falls out in front of their little moon pool, they call it, which is like the little docking bay under the water. And the Suicide Squad are in the water, and they look up and they see this villain named Stinger. I've never heard of him, but he basically looks like Deadpool with a couple shoulder pads and gold accents. But yeah, his name's Stinger. Apparently Superboy and him have a past. And I love it. Like they end it with like Superboy being like, Stinger, no.
Stinger, no. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Who the fuck is that? And what Stinger does is he shoots you with stings, I guess. I don't know. It's just a gun blast that he gets shot with. But Superboy gets shot. He shoots a couple other people. Then a big fight happens. And basically this whole issue is like a back and forth fight with Deadshot. Like the team gets split up between different enemies and they end up going in different ways. So like Captain Boomerang runs down a hall and is like, I'm going to lock myself. Like I fuck fighting these people. I'm going to go lock myself in a room. And then as he does that, Superboy and
Knockout and Deadshot.
Yeah, Knockout and Deadshot run behind him and like, what the fuck? You were going to lock us out? And he's like, no, totally not. I was totally just, I knew you guys were right behind me. Like, and so they get mad at him. But then like the other teammates, which is Sidearm, who got shot in the water. And we haven't seen King Shark yet, right? So
no, yeah, King Shark's just he's somewhere in the fight, I'm sure. But yeah,
he just jumped out. Did he jump out at the beginning, or no? He doesn't even jump out. So yeah, he's just like in the water chilling at the moment and hasn't attacked anybody yet, at least that we've seen. And so Sidearm got shot. And they thought he died or whatever.
But you see King Shark in the next page. He's like swimming off with
Makoa.
Because I guess Makoa, of all the supers there, he's not super, so he actually got
he got injured.
Winded.
He got injured by the shot, which I guess was just a stinger shot. It doesn't hurt you that bad. But also King Shark needs him alive because if Makoa dies, his belt explodes. So King Shark's really protecting himself, of course. But King Shark pulls a Jaws 3, and he finds a viewing room. And I think they actually took this from Jaws 3. But there's like a viewing window, and these 3 guys are looking out of it, and they see King Shark swimming towards them, and they're like, no! And he breaks through the window, and all the water comes in. And then somehow, I guess there's like a door, like a metal door that closes over the window. But King Shark is able to kill a bunch of the people. He takes a couple bites out of them, which I thought was fun. And I always wanted to see King Shark do a little bit more damage. I mean, I felt like they could have gone a little bit more violent, but maybe not. it is a comic rated or comic code authority rated comic.
Well, he at least gets one good, like, and this is the reason this next little scene is the next reason I was like, okay, I like, I'm down with King Shark. I in this, like, I
Yes.
definitely would like to see more, because I guess Sidearm is like, he's like, well, fuck this, like, I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm out of here. You guys left me to die, so fuck you. I'm gonna kill you, Makoa, and also, like, I'm gonna hold King Shark ransom, or not ransom, but, like, if I kill you, King Shark will blow up or whatever. So I'll have that, like, kind of ace up my sleeve. And so he's like got Makoa by his tentacle arms, or wrapped with his tentacle arms, and then we see come from behind. King Shark comes up and stabs Sidearm with, like, just punches through his back. I'm assuming, I want to say, I wish he kind of like did a Predator and pulled the spine out and everything.
Yes, I agree. I wish it would have been, like, his hand's super bloody.
Yeah.
So that is cool. Like, you could tell, like, he obviously, like, reached into him. But yeah, it would have been nice to him pull out, like, a spine, or
he tickled his insides for sure.
Or see his hand, like, just start to go through him or something.
Yeah, there's no, like, killing blow shot that we see, but we just see, like, the silhouette, and then we hear schlunk, and then we see, like, a bloody hand as Sidearm falls down dead. So yeah, like, we have the team split up now in two different areas. Each one's struggling with their, what's going on. It's kind of like the normal stuff, like, oh, the room's filling up with water, we have to open this door. How will we open this door? Oh, good, Superboy uses his telekinesis and his X-ray vision to break the lock on this door hatch or whatever, and then he's able to close it, and oh, good, yay. So it's kind of like, I don't know, very to me it wasn't very, like, suspenseful.
No, exactly. With Superboy there, like, them getting into shenanigan trouble, I wasn't quite as. I was more, like, just enthralled with, like, the look of the other characters and, like, what was happening to them. That was what I was focused on, especially.
Yeah, the other ones you're like, oh, are they gonna die? Because, like, we just killed Sidearm.
Yeah,
and
Captain Boomerang, who.
Yeah, well, I knew Captain Boomerang doesn't die because he's in the comics later on, like, that I've read. So
No, I know. I just mean, like, just how they were reacting with these situations, and Captain Boomerang, all, like, washed up from all the water. It looks like the fucking Crypt Keeper.
Oh yeah, he does.
With his like, he's balding hair, but, like, long hair in the back still, and, like, again, just with the way that he talks, he's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. He is ridiculous.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, but the second they get into their room, when they seal the door from the water coming up, Superboy, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and why can't I remember her fucking name?
Knockout.
Thank you. I want to say Takedown. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, Knockout. Of course, the Silicon Dragons know, or they know that they're in this room, and so they gas it with sleeping gas or whatever. So now they've captured half the team. And we see Superboy chained up in the Lady Dragon's office, her head office. And then she pulls out a sword, and we leave the last page of this saying, like, I am your executioner, holding a sword over Superboy's head, and that's it.
And I guess it's like a samurai sword, but that also has, like, some energy blade.
It's like a samurai sword and a lightsaber together, basically, is what it looks like.
Yes.
Which, you add electric around something and it's better. And literally on the next the last issue's cover, it looks like she has a lightsaber that's yellow in her hand because it's glowing from the electricity. So of course, this is the fight between Lady Dragon and Superboy. Now, this was one of the dumbest characters I've ever seen in my life, because she has a code that won't let her kill him just outright. Like, she's a bad guy, but goddammit, she's got a samurai code, and that code is,
they have a code.
We have to fight with equal power. So, like, whatever, like, if he's super strong, she can strike him with a sword, but if he doesn't have weapons or whatever, then she can't do anything to him with a sword. She has to fight him hand to hand. And by weapon, I mean his goggles. So, like, in the middle of this fight, his goggles get hit off, and she's like, about to stab him. She's like, wait, no, I cannot. And then, like, she's also giving orders to people because her mind is integrated into this base. So like she could tell what's happening in the other parts of the base. So she's like telling Stinger, who's about to attack the other half of the team, that like she's like, no, don't kill them. And he's like, no, what do you mean don't kill them? We're bad guys. We have to kill them. And she's like, no, you have to fight with honor. You must honor our honor. Like, I don't understand what this honor has to do with anything, but
so which King Shark is like, okay, and then he fucking like fucks up all of the
all the minions because they can't they can't shoot them because they don't have guns. But like King Shark is a god, he's a demigod, and he's like murdering all these people. And they're like, oh my god, my legs, and like, and they're like, but we can't kill him because he doesn't have a gun. So they make it like it's like in Predator. Like that happens in Predator too, but it makes a lot more sense because it's like methodical and thought of or something, I don't know. Like it feels genuine in that. And this just doesn't make any sense. Also it's like, it's always like them. There's no like the rest of the Predators don't have to follow that necessarily. You know what I mean? Like if Arnold is going to blow them up or because, King Shark does have an explosive on him. If Arnold has an explosive and he could blow up at any time, that kind of evens the odds. Fucking kill him, right? I don't see what the problem is. But they have honor, goddammit. So, like you said, his visor falls off when she squirts him with some water from the base. Just has random like water pressure hoses on the wall that you can control. And also like just out of nowhere, just like a stone beam flies down and crunches him. But he's invulnerable enough that none of this hurts him at all. Although it seems like the water really takes it out of him because he's like, God, bleh. Like he can't handle water being squirted on him, which I thought was funny. And then like a 10-ton stone on a mechanical arm flies down and crunches him, and no problem with that. He just breaks through it. So because she can't kill him because he's disarmed or whatever, like they kind of everybody fails at taking on the Suicide Squad, and it turns out that they win. And then she gets away in like it looks like she gets away, but then the team at the very end, what they have to do is destroy this base. But Detective Makoa finds out that like there had to have been, he figures out like just through sleuthing, there had to have been a mole on the team because like, how did they know that they were above them? This was a perfect plan of destroying the battleship above them so they could float down in the debris and have a surprise attack. But so he knows this, there had to have been a mole. So he's fighting Stinger, and Stinger, who's mad that he doesn't get to kill anybody, is basically like, all right, I'll fucking tell you. But like, he's messing around saying like, oh, you get 3 guesses, that kind of thing, because he is evil. And obviously, but like, he's like, I'll tell you, I don't care. She's annoying me because she won't let me kill anybody. And then as he says that, out of fucking nowhere, because she dove into what I thought was an escape pod, but apparently it was just like an opening in the ship that sealed up after her because she can control it. She appears out of nowhere in the middle of like the heart of this base underwater. And she's like, how dare you betray me, Stinger? And then as she says that, like the floor falls away from where they are. And it's just like, it's basically that scene at the end of Empire Strikes Back where they're in like a really, really long vertical tunnel and there's no floor and Luke is hanging on because he gets pushed over the edge. And everybody's hanging on something because the floor fell away and they're in this weird vertical tunnel. And I guess because Boomerang thought she was talking to him because he ends up being the mole. He's like, now lady, I didn't betray you. It looks, we had a bargain. You're right. And everybody's like, wait, Boomerang, you did it? Captain Boomerang was the mole? So everybody knows that he betrayed them. So Deadshot, with his dead shot, shoots Boomerang through the hands, sending him down. But Superboy catches him before he falls to his death because Superboy won't let someone die. But yeah, he gets shot through his hands, so he can't throw his boomerangs like he could before, man. That's like a big thing, And then we see at the very end, I guess, what's her name? Lady Dragon runs away. She gets away. She's like, I will finish you later. Oh, here's a reference. Here's a fantastic 90s reference. This is just to let you know how 90s this gets. So they're talking After Superboy saves Captain Boomerang, he turns to Lady Dragon and he says, like, hear me, lady. Do you hear me, lady? Let's finish this like we started. Just you, me, and for all the pogs. So, like, instead of, like, for all the chips or all the money or whatever, or all the everything, it's for all the pogs. Does everybody remember pogs? Those little discs of cardboard that had things on them? And we collected them just like Beanie Babies and other stuff, like Funko Pops now. So, yeah. He talks about pogs. That's how 90s this is, and I loved it. All right? I loved every second of that. So, but yeah, she disappears. Then for some reason, I'm not sure why. What's her name?
Knockout.
Knockout. Thank you. Knockout. Just like, let's go. And she's like, I'll take it from here, pup. I don't like to watch. You dance with your lady friend, and I'll take on King Shark for some reason. She just starts punching King Shark. I didn't get why. It wasn't like there was a reason for her to punch him, but she starts taking him on. And then she rips off his belt as Lady Dragon disappears from the ship, I guess, teleports out or whatever. And that makes it so the belt explodes. So she kills King Shark theoretically. Obviously, we know he's not dead.
So yeah,
he appears later. She dies apparently. I don't know if she appears again. But everybody else took they had made mention of these pills that you have to take. I don't know how everybody else didn't die, but they took these pills that made it so they could withstand the pressure of the water, and then they took another pill that made it so they could come up without getting the bends. That's it. So the rest of the team lived. Amanda Waller's like, what the hell happened down there? And then, found out what it was.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah. One thing I did like is that Superman leaves her office. Makoa is standing outside, and he's like, how to go with the wall, kid. I was like, oh my God, that is like the best nickname behind her back for Amanda Waller, because she is a large, imposing woman. And so the wall is a great name for her, as I thought, as a backhanded nickname. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Superboy's like, we're best friends now, Makoa. Thank you. Thank you for being a friend. So, John, that being said, what would you give it? What did you think?
So I liked it. It was fun. I definitely want to get, like, I had to look up a little more about King Shark just to like see where his, what was true of his origin, see if anything had changed. And I guess they really do solidify most of it and tie up everything in that Aquaman one, the other one that we had in there.
Yes.
So we might, I don't know if we'll read it or
next year, Shark Week. we gotta space them out because we can't waste the shark stories on non-Shark Week weeks.
That's true. Unless we get other shark stories, we'll see. But but yeah, like I still liked him as a character. He was, that was the reason we read this. He was fun. He was a big brute. He didn't talk really yet in this, but he gave people like the side eye. And he ripped through, all the dumb minions and stuff.
Yes.
So he was still fun. And, it was a fun 90s comic, like, was it a fantastic story? Nah, it was okay. But was it fun? I enjoy the quips? Did I enjoy some of the over ridiculous, like, or sexual innuendos and like just, ridiculous 90s references? Yeah, I did. I had fun. I enjoyed Superboy. I had realized that this writer, I had read some stuff of his before because I read I really enjoy some of the Elseworlds for DC and what ifs and weird why am I blanking?
Like side stories. Yeah.
Side stories.
Multiverse.
And multiverse. Thank you. Wow. I feel so silly. And he specifically did Marvel Apes, Carl Kessel. And I really enjoyed that. That story. I read I think the first 2 trades of that. Or maybe I read the first main one. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So yeah. So it was cool to see the creation of this character, see where he evolved. It was fun to read a Superboy because I remember seeing this character and I probably read some little stories in the 90s, but I don't distinctly remember much about it. So it was cool visiting him. I always liked his look. I thought it was fun with his leather jacket and his weird goggles. So yeah, it was a fun story. I enjoyed it enough. Like I said, it was easy enough to pick up and just be like, oh, okay, that was cool. So yeah, not the best, but fun. The art was pretty good. It was, pretty serviceable throughout the whole thing. There's,
Yeah.
maybe right at the beginning
The
there was a little
issue number 9 threw me off. That one had weird art compared to the other ones.
Yeah, but all the main art with was it Tom Grummett?
Grummett, yeah.
Yeah, his stuff is definitely really solid. Um, and I guess they're both technically the creators of Superboy and King Shark. So
Not Superboy. Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not this. Well, I mean, this Superboy. I mean,
Yeah,
Superboy has been around since the 60s. So,
sorry, yes, this specific version of Superboy.
yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it though. And it definitely is a unique look for King Shark. So, all of that said, I would give it I give it a 5.5. It wasn't terrible, but it was, it was fun.
All right, that's pretty solid for like a '90s comic. That's just like a jobber comic, you know.
Yeah, and I don't give too many halves, so I'm saying it's just a little bit better than
it's above average.
Yeah,
it's a little bit better than Hush. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
because that's our eternal average comic.
I feel so. We're really gonna definitely have to like revisit.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a revisit of Hush since that was our first episode, and it was so long ago, and I haven't read it since then. And I wonder now that we've read so much Batman, what does it compare to now? So
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like I had a blast reading this. I thought like all the '90s stuff was like an instant nostalgia thing, but even more so for me, there was more nostalgia because it takes place in Hawaii. So I was like, oh, like I know that place. I know that place. I know what they're talking about. So that was kind of fun. All the like them trying to throw in like words like moke and other Hawaiian things. I'm like, oh, like they're trying to do their thing. It's not quite making it. It's not quite making sense fully, but you know, they're trying. I'll give them that. So like they're trying as far as like a jobber would do, you know, they do the minimal research they needed to write the issue.
Yeah.
But they didn't make anything up that I could tell at least. So, that was good at least. But yeah, it was fun reading it. And, I think it's like an origin story. King Shark's a pretty interesting origin. If they even went, like if this was actually like, if there was an issue, this would be like a Neil Gaiman way to do this to introduce King Shark. But you have the Zero issue where you have the setup for King Shark. Then you have the whole second, like Superboy number 9, just be the origin story of like the gods, the myth, how he was made, you know, how the relationship was between the mom and the king and the you know, the god shark or whatever, like all that shit. That's what you would do to really solidify who is King Shark. This doesn't really give you who he is, just he's a big shark man. Like that's what you get at first. Then you get a little bit more of him in the Suicide Squad story, but not that much. You get that he's violent, and you know that's pretty much all you need to know, right? So, so yeah, like I think it was pretty good. It was a solid like introduction, but it could have been a lot better if it was thought out maybe a little bit more. But I think a lot of first appearances of characters are like that. Because they don't know. They don't know this is going to be something. They don't know that in 30 years this is going to be in a Suicide Squad movie. So, you know, they're just like, yeah, it's a shark guy. Cool. You know, that worked for the paycheck I'm getting to this week. So, yeah. I think I'm going to give it an asterisk 6 because I had a lot of nostalgia fun reading it. But I think you're right. I think for any normal reader, they could definitely read these issues and have fun. They wouldn't need to know anything else because it does give the whole backstory to Superboy and everything. So you don't need to know too much. And King Shark's new. You need to know a little bit like who the Suicide Squad is, but they do a pretty good job introducing them as well. So I think it's pretty solid overall for like a new reader to pick up. So yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 5.5 like you, but like an asterisk 6 for me personally. Like I had fun reading it. But yeah, I would definitely, if someone was like, what's a good, like, should I read the origin of King Shark to start off? I'd be like, yeah, have fun. As long as you like are okay with 90s comics. Talking about pogs and saying fresh a lot and stuff, but, and also weird like X-ray X-ray peeping Tom jokes, but but besides that, like, yeah, it's pretty solid. So so yeah, there you go. Origin of King Shark, Shark Week celebrated. Another one in the books, John.
Yes, another Shark Week in the books.
Yeah, successfully handled. And then so this month for our Patreon exclusive episode, we're doing the book Chivalry by Neil Gaiman and Colleen Doran. They were the team that did the book we read for Christmas, I believe, which was Snow Glass Apples. So I have no idea what Chivalry's about, but it looks fucking beautiful, so I figured we'd read it. It couldn't be bad. It's Neil Gaiman writing, so he's pretty fucking solid.
And then again, the art that was part of the reason that Snow Glass Apples blew us away, because we were like, oh, it's Neil Gaiman, it'll be fun. And then the art in that, we were just like, oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't realize. I mean, I've seen her art before, but she just really looks good in Snow Glass Apples. So, and Chivalry looks the same. So I'm very excited to read that. Speaking of patrons, we should thank our patrons. Thank you, Otaku Mike, Hoku, Christian, Matthew, Kyla, and Sandy. You guys are awesome. You keep the wheels going in the background. Speaking of wheels in the background, we are taking a break for next month, except the Patreon episode. So if you want to listen to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books next month, the only way you're going to hear it is if you're a patron. So if you feel like doing that and you want to support us, go to patreon.com/Planes, Trains, and Comic Books and sign up for any tier. You'll get the exclusive episode that way. Also, I have a Hellblazer podcast going on where I'm reading every issue of Hellblazer. So if that's any interest to you, it's been a fun time. We're in the middle of the Garth Ennis run right now, or actually going towards the end of it, and it has been fantastic. I'm loving it. It's been really nice getting to know a lot of the patrons that way and seeing their enjoyment from the readings of Hellblazer. So if that is any interest, like I said, go to patreon.com/Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word. And unless there's anything else, John, I think we're good to go.
No, I think I guess we'll see him on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.